This episode of Angles is brought to you by Richmond Vona Personal Injury Attorneys. Expect high-level communication, transparency, and cutting-edge technology to keep your case moving. Expect a legal team that's laser-focused and moves fast to get the results you deserve. When the unexpected happens, expect Richmond Vona. Learn more at richmondvona.com, 192 Seneca Street, Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Angles, the podcast where we dig into the stories behind impactful people and explore the sharp turns, daily decisions, and defining moments that shape how they got to where they are and how they keep moving forward. I'm John Richmond, and every week I sit down with guests who are building bold, meaningful lives and careers in Buffalo and beyond. If you enjoy these conversations, please hit follow, subscribe, drop a comment, or share the episode. It's a simple way to help us grow with the community and keep these stories coming. Today's guest on Angles is David Lord, a serial entrepreneur whose journey has taken him from early dot-com exits to a legacy project rooted in passion. He's the founder and CEO of Guidesley, a Buffalo-based startup that's reinventing the outdoor guiding industry with powerful AI tools and a deep respect for the craft. From fly fishing with his grandfather to building a platform supporting 1,500 guides nationwide, David shares what it takes to scale a company with purpose and why Buffalo is now home. Let's get into it. All right. Super excited to be joined by David Lord, founder and CEO of Guidesley. David, how's it going?
It's great. How are you today?
I'm good. I really appreciate you being here. Like I said before we started, I'm super excited to talk to you. And I figured we kind of just jump right into it. And I'd love if you could just sort of kind of share your story, like your background and starting companies, exiting companies, and how you eventually made your way to Buffalo and then started Guidesley.
Awesome. Well, John, it's been a long journey. As you can tell, I'm a little grizzled by the wear and tear. Um, I started out, I was a traditional accounting major, went through, got the CFO, and realized I probably don't want to do this for the next 30 years. It was right about the internet was being kind of going from stage one of browsers and viewing things to commerce. And so I started up a company, didn't know what I was doing, had no idea. This little thing called Toy Smart. Built it was a specialty educational toys online e-commerce play. Got some big press, got some venture capital, and built it into a nice company. Sold it off to Disney in 1999 before the internet crashed. Um, was part of the Disney family for a year. That was great. Learned a lot there. Um, and there was a Friday there on Black Friday that we were the lead story of all three major news broadcasts.
Wow.
It was quite a run. I mean, that back then, that was when startups were startups. That was an incredible ride, passionate, and it gets you addicted. So once I got the addiction, there was really no ending it. I went to Intel for a while to run one of their companies. I realized I can't go back to corporate. So I went into sports, started a company, or was part of the starting team, built a $150 million company in 4.5 years. Um, and that was all about kind of similar to Guidesley, a SaaS platform with a consumer marketplace around sports tickets that right as secondary ticketing started to become legal. So that was the second stage of the journey. That company got sold off. Uh, and then I went to an educational software company, Jumpstart, which was a complete turnaround. One of the original CD makers had never transitioned online, brought in by the capitalists. I'd never done really a turnaround. I'd only done startups. So it was a bit different. Built that up, I don't know, tripled the company and sold that off to a big Chinese company. But all the while, so my origin story to Guidesley, I'm a fly fisherman. I've been a fly fisherman my whole life. It's my passion from fishing as a little kid with my dad, to all the way through. And when I became a CEO, I used to go out with these guides and they would be, David, you're a tech CEO. What should I do? People who build my website charge me a ridiculous amount of money and it never works. All the marketing people, all these fly fishing shops charge me 50% for a phone call. They don't do any, everyone's stealing my money except for me who does the work. And I would always be like, wow, I cannot believe how awesome. So I grew up, you go out into the water, you find a spot, you stay there for days and you fish and you figure out where the fish are because you have days. Once you get to be with the guide life, it's because you only have a couple hours. And they will get you right to the spot where fish are. They'll get you the right lure, the right time, the right fly, and you have an incredible experience. And I realized, wow, I've been doing this all wrong. Guides are the way to go to learn water. So uh, I've been saying to myself for like 10 years, if I ever get the chance where I'm done with the game, I'm going to start a company to do this. It's going to be my retirement gig. And so that's what I did. I hired some of my former team and I was just going to build my own little company. And then the government came out with a research report that said, hey, this outdoor recreational guiding space is significant. They came out with the outdoor recreation report, and the guide piece of it is in today's world, $50 billion. If you had asked me how big it was, I would have said, oh, a couple billion.
Yeah.
Until I saw the numbers on page, and then I said, oh my God, I'm going to have 10 competitors in 5 years. Because all those VC firms with data guys who are going to come out and do the analysis and put a couple $1 million into 5 companies. So I said, okay, back in the rat race. Here we go. And that's how Guidesley started.
That's amazing. It's I will say I grew up. My dad grew up. He's not like an avid fisherman like you are, but you have a lot of great memories. For those of us who've been fortunate enough to have them with whoever in your family. Going out fishing when you're young, even if you don't really know what you're doing, is just something about being out there. Especially now, away from cell phones, that kind of stuff. But you're right. If you have the opportunity to go out with a guide, it changes everything. It's not just about it is about obviously like being in the right place, everything's set up for you. You don't have to worry and having that great experience in the time that you have, but the stories you get from the guides and just, it's awesome. And I think a lot of people, I mean, myself included, you can really, almost learn about a new hobby or gain a new appreciation or a new love for something when you have such a positive experience with somebody.
Totally agree. It's one of the really interesting side benefits of running this company is we work with so many great people across the country who take their craft. I'm a Bostonian, born and raised in Boston. So whenever I hear the word craft, all I can think of is Tom Brady. All he talked about for 25 years was perfecting his craft. And when I talk to guides, that's what I hear. I hear them, oh yeah, well, we were working this last week, this week, and I came out here 3 days before you got here to test this out. Like they're always perfecting their craft to give you the best experience. We call it the magical moment.
That's
Their
awesome.
job is to give you that magic moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna leave the fact that you're from Boston aside and that you just made a Tom Brady reference on a
Yeah,
Buffalo podcast. But hey, look, I appreciate your loyalty.
yeah.
Before we jump into Guidesley, because I really want to dig into that with you, I'm curious, just myself as a founder and a CEO. I mean, and honestly, my dad was an entrepreneur, but I wasn't the type of kid that had lemonade stands or paper routes going up. What was it when you were, in that, kind of getting off in that traditional, I guess, career path, or what was it that made you say, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to bet on myself and go start a company.
I'm not sure, but I was the kid who had the paper route. Uh,
That's awesome.
in high school, I started me and my friend had a little betting card, those pick 3 teams for the weekend.
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess I've been um, enamored with the concept since the beginning. But I think really what started it is I just didn't, I was in the re-engineering state. So when I got into accounting, there was no real technology. It was the beginning of re-engineering. And I fell in love with the re-engineering part. So I loved implementations, process re-engineering, then corporate re-engineering. So I think it was a progression of things that built a lot of new skills that made me just thirsty for this kind of change management. This, hey, the world's changing, re-engineer everything. And I think if I had one word that would describe me, it's a passionate re-engineer. Always looking at a process and saying, oh wow, we could do this better. And that's it.
When you look at yourself as like an early on CEO versus how you are as a CEO now, what do you think? are the biggest lessons you've learned, or maybe the biggest changes in how you operated then versus now?
That's a great question, John. Um, there's a lot of differences. I was a passionate believer, but I was also more of a leader than I was a manager. So I think I probably didn't know what I was doing. Um, you so you believed, right? And you hoped things would happen, and for the most part, they did. So I guess I can't complain. Hire good people, right? But now I know a lot of the answers. I bumped a lot of knees. I've scraped a lot of knees, bumped a lot of elbows, and I can look at something and say, let's not do that. That likely will be a problem. Let's test that out before we commit to this strategy, right? So I can provide a lot of clarity to our team. And I think in today's world, if I were to say back then I was passionate and rah-rah, today I'm accountable, right? And I hold my team accountable. And I really believe in performance as the overall metric, not just passion, right? Passion is important. Every passionate person seems to succeed at a higher rate than every non-passionate person, right? But as we go through life, it's not my job to pick, it's my job to hold the team accountable. It's my job to make sure that everybody's performing. So, the person next to you, if you're going to work really hard, the person next to you is working just as hard to accomplish their results in the exact same way that you do. So that's the promise I make. And the other thing I say to our company, and I mean it, and I tell people all the time, our guys these are working class people. You're not building software so some corporate VP who doesn't give a crap. He's going on, vacation that Saturday and that Thursday, and he doesn't care. He'll deal with that next Tuesday. Well, when you're dealing with a fishing guide or a hunting guide or a scuba instructor, missing a couple of trips could be the difference between paying bills and not paying bills. Food on table. So I tell our team, every person that gets hired, that's who you're working with. You're middle class now. And if you cannot respect that and understand that if we have a problem, you're not going home. I don't care what it is. We have to fix that problem because that's someone's life on the line. Like that food on the table, that paying the bills, that could be the difference between a great year and just everything going to hell. So, that's the kind of people we try and hire. And it's a good segue into why we love Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's great perspective. It's like, that saying that you're only as good as the lowest standard that you maintain internally, and for sure accountability both internally and to your customers or your clients is king. And that's really great advice. So yeah, let's jump into it. Let's talk about Guidesley, and to start off, I mean, I know the answer, but how'd you make your way to Buffalo?
Yeah, so it's a funny story, Josh. We go out fishing every year. We go steelhead fishing, and we were in 18 Mile Creek, um, and we were just I think it was the first week of December, 3 years ago, and someone mentioned, you know, we when we're fishing for steelhead, it's a fishing trip. It's not a business trip. But we were started talking about, hey, what do you guys do again? We're like, we started up this company. We're doing fishing guide, blah blah blah. We're just starting up, and they said, have you heard of this 43 North? One of our friends. We're like, no. What is that? Oh, it's this great startup organization. I go to the competition every year because one of our friends is local. And so we said, oh, we'll look into it. And we looked into it and we said, wow, this sounds incredible. Why have I never heard of this program? $1 million, free headquarters. You get all the support team. You get your employees that you hire don't pay any state taxes. The employee base in Buffalo is tremendous. It's the number 4 fishery in the world is the Great Lakes.
Yep.
We're like, this makes a lot of sense for us. And just at the time we were trying to hire someone in Buffalo, and the difference in salaries and what we were getting in experience was so dramatic. We were like, okay, all right, let's apply. It's the only competition I've ever applied to in my entire life. I've raised countless dollars, never once have I even done like a pitch competition. Never once. And I can't imagine. I always say, if you can't raise money, that's the starting stakes of being a good CEO in a startup. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in this game anyway. If you need all that help, it's probably not going to be a good thing. But that was probably wrong. It was actually a really healthy process. We got a lot of fine tuning along the way. So I loved it. I've loved every person I've met. And when we won, it was just, okay, the next day we're moving to Buffalo and here we go.
It's awesome. Yeah, if anyone ever is interested, and I would suggest that they go check it out. You can go to the 43 North website and see essentially like your final pitch, and some of the judges asking you questions. Obviously, you did a great job, and it's awesome to see entrepreneurs like yourself, understand how great Buffalo is, and regardless of how you get here, but it's really cool that we have such a program here to attract, great companies and let them grow and flourish here with support of the 43 North. How's it been since you've been here, both, working with 43 North, and I'd love to hear just more so like your, I guess your experience here in the community.
Right. Um, so we moved here. I mean, we got places within the next month, and we were already working with 43 North the week after. So most people wait till that's in. I think the competition was in October. We were redoing our brand with Maura, who runs their marketing, the next week. We were like, okay, we'll take advantage of everything that we are given. So two of us moved out at that time. We only had, I don't know, 7 or 8 employees. So two moved out there. Um, and we started integrating immediately with the 43 North team. So my big belief in life is you lean in, the other party leans in. If they take a step, you take a step. That's, it's reciprocal, mirrors. And people who tend great relationships start one step at a time. And each time you go another step, you get a lot closer. And before you know it, you're walking lockstep. So I think that's what happened with 43 North. We started to lean in. We went to all the events. We met a tremendous number of great people. So much so that even though the round was closed as we won the $1 million, a couple of the judges invested, a couple of the 43 North folks invested, a couple of the not 43 North, the founded, the larger set of investors around that, a couple of the locals from Buffalo. And we said, all right, well, it helps us get integral to the community. So that was great. And then we started going to all of the events, meeting all of the local, whether it's the ACVs, Dan and all the team over at ACV, whether it's all the other previous companies who were incredible at 43 North, very helpful. Um, and then the community itself. I mean, they've run a lot of events, and there's a hidden benefit of all of that. Like, it takes care of your culture. You don't have to put on, they've got the summer catamaran out in Lake Erie. So you just have your whole team over there, and all of a sudden you've got a great cultural event to teach your team, hey, we're a startup. We're going with 50 other or 100 other startup teammates, and we're going to go out and we're going to chat, and we're going to talk startups. And there's a lot of that goes on in the facility. So as you think of classic startup environment, they help build it for you. They've got the facility, they've got the shared space, they put on the event. Like for a year, you can put culture on cruise control and just kind of follow on their tails. It's awesome. Like I would fly people in when they would have great events. So that's when we're going to do our team meetings.
That's
And
awesome.
because we only have like 4 or 5 people now outside of Buffalo. We have, I think, 20 people in Buffalo, 18 to 20, depending on the day of the week.
Yeah, I can obviously tell you're passionate about culture internally. I mean, you talked a little bit about it. Um, I mean, I agree. I think culture is number one. I mean, if you don't have the best people who are in line with your values, your mission, your vision, you're not going to be able to deliver that ultimate experience to your client or customer base. How would you describe Guidesley's culture right now?
Evolving. So,
That's good.
yeah, like all great cultures, it's a state of mind. So a seed culture is different than a Series A, than a Series B. Cultures evolve as the company evolves. So having just raised our Series A, we're still in that last bit of, hey, we get to be a true just startup before we become the capital S startup at Series B, right?
Right.
Um, and so we're starting to build a brand. We're going to launch our first brand campaign next month.
Awesome.
So culture is starting to become delivery. Where up until now, it's the work that we put into products is our brand. Like we stand behind what we build is so that our company was product and service. That if you think about it, we're selling to guides, we're building great products, and we're servicing them incredibly well. We didn't even have a marketing resource. So our culture was all about delivery. It was all about we stand behind it. So guide happiness was our core metric. And that worked. And everybody was unified around this concept of we're going to deliver for our guides. That's our culture. We answer the phones. We take care of it. We fix things. We have fun, right? So number one to our brand is we're an outdoors company. So everybody's outdoors. We do a lot of stuff. We've got hunters, we've got fishers, we've got scuba, we've got, you name it, we got it. But people are passionate about something. Everybody's passionate about something. Um, so I think that our culture, um, in especially in Buffalo, is very unique. Like we went to the Bison's game last week. Took everybody. We got a lot of
Doing
people.
that today with our team.
Are you? That's great.
Yeah, our
I
annual
love going
summer
to those
party.
games. Oh, you
Yeah.
picked a better weather though. Last year we went to opening day because
That's
Sean and
awesome.
I, we love baseball. We're a little older, so it was I think 42 degrees and
Wow.
raining on opening day last year, but we were
Yeah.
there.
Classic Bison's opening game.
Yeah.
But it's awesome that you do all that stuff and like,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with you, culture is a living, breathing thing. I mean, maybe you have like a central mission that or a guiding light that you always are kind of focused on, but the people that are on board and kind of your values can change depending on kind of like the stage of which the company's at. So I think it's a great lesson. I'm glad you brought that up about constantly, especially if you're a business owner, reevaluating your culture, like who are we, what do we stand for, but then being true to like those core principles. Um, I've done a lot of research on Guidesley, and obviously there's a lot more, I guess, than meets the eye. Then you just go on and look at the website. I know you guys are really heavily invested in AI. Can you kind of talk about maybe how Guidesley works and sort of what your vision is for the use of AI and ultimately for Guidesley as a platform?
Complicated company. Takes a few minutes to describe it because it's easy to see a consumer marketplace like Airbnb. So Guidesley.com is like Airbnb. It's a consumer marketplace. You can go find guides. But our core business is really we're a SaaS provider. And we provide all of the technology for 1,500 guides, whether that's fishing, hunting, whatnot. And for those 1,500 guides, we build their websites. We manage all of their technology stack. We take care of all their payments, all their customers, all their local search, all their Google business profile, all their social media, everything. And so they can do what they love, their craft, and perfect it. And we take care of all the business. So as we were going into this AI thing last year, we started to realize there's a great opportunity here to solve some of our bigger problems from our guides. And in our world, guides are very busy during the most important times, right? So they take advantage of their opportunities. If this busy time, say right now in New England or Lake Erie, it's packed right now. Every boat's out every day, and they don't take a day off when it's busy season. So they don't do the little things. They don't make social media posts. They don't check in on should I put a fishing report up? The one thing customers want, they're going to their website, they want all these things. So we started working with Amazon on a test project that's grown and grown and grown, and it became our solution. So we call it Jack. So in case you don't know, jacks are a whole type of fish down in Florida. So we were jack fishing and we caught some jacks, and we were like, let's call it Jack AI. All right, great. And that name is just stuck. It was a code name, but it's stuck. So matter of fact, we're going to announce it today. Today is the press release day.
Oh, wow.
Um, Yep. So in about another hour, we're gonna launch a press release. We've had it live for 6 months, but we didn't want to tell our competitors. So Jack AI basically says, okay, what are guides good at? Fishing, and they take pictures of their customers and abandon everything else behind the scenes. So we built an AI product that takes those pictures, processes all the images, tells if that what that fish is in the picture. So we use AI to say, oh, that's a Spanish mackerel. Oh, that's a striped bass. Got it. Then we get the length and weight. Then we see if the guide's in the picture. Then we fix it up, get some sentiment analysis. Then we run it through our own AI. We use SLM. So, and then we go build output. So we do a whole bunch of massaging to get perfect assets. We tag it all so it's all perfect. Then we send 6 social media posts out on
Wow.
behalf of our guide. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. So all of a sudden they're everywhere. Next, we go down to Google Business Profile. We update that. We put a post in there because Google loves it when you keep them updated, right?
Yeah.
4 pictures. Here you go. Then we update their website with now perfectly tagged content instead of just an image that we don't know what the heck it is. Now we know the fish, we know the date, we know which uh, rate card this is on, and we track all that data. Then we go down and we send to the customer a highlight video of their day,
Wow.
and link them back. So all of a sudden, next part of that is, so now all of those, we call them Jack AIs, all of those Jack AIs go into twice a month. We send newsletters to your former customers about everything that's going on. So in the outdoor world, we've run into about 1% of our customers who actually send emails to their previous customers. So now every guide is in the business of being a good marketer. We take care of their local search, we take care of their customer, and we take care of their social profiles. So that's what Jack AI, and it doesn't cost them a penny. It's just add value to the platform.
We'll be right back after a word from our partners.
After an accident, life can be scary, stressful, tricky. You need Richmond Bona to help navigate the process, because getting a life-changing settlement can not only take time, it can take an emotional toll. The team at Richmond Bona provides high levels of support through all the ins and outs, so you get the settlement you need and the new beginning you deserve.
When the unexpected happens,
Expect Richmond Bona.
Now back to the conversation. Yeah, that's got to be so huge for those guys. Like you mentioned it earlier, but these are people who they say they're fishermen. They want to be out on the water. They want to be creating these great experiences for people, making sure that they go out and have stories to tell for maybe the rest of their lives. I mean, you're a little kid and you go out fishing with your dad with a guide and get lucky and catch a huge fish. I mean, that picture is living in your house for the rest of your life.
That's right.
It's pretty huge, and they don't want to have to worry about all that other stuff, but they want the opportunity to be able to provide that experience for more people, and you're giving them a platform in which you can kind of take care of all that for them.
100%. And that's why we call it the magic moment. A guy puts so much work behind the scenes to make sure, like, if you bring your child and you want that son or daughter to have the perfect day, well, they're going to fish totally differently than someone who's going out. I don't care if I catch only one, but I want it to be that special one, right? You take your kid out, you just want a bunch of fish. You want to have a great day. You want smiles. Well, that guy, he'll make that magic moment happen for you so that you get exactly what you're looking for. And that's what we call it, the magic moment. And their job, every time that you go out with a guy, and you'll hear him, but he says, yeah, it's like I planned it that way. And they put a lot of work in to make sure
Yeah.
you get this whole goal. Like, I just went down to Isle Morada on my birthday with my wife, and she said, okay, you can go tarpon fishing. I know you want to catch a tarpon on the fly. Go do it. I get that tarpon on the fly, and, I caught 6 of them. But as he's jumping in the air, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And I can hear Joe, the guy, going, yeah, it's like I planned it that way or something. And he tells me afterwards, yeah, I came out down this I worked this channel for 2 nights straight, studying where the tarpon were. The guys, people come on a boat and they go out fishing. They think it's, oh, wow, look at this. but that guy puts a lot of work in to make sure that you get, once you tell them what you're looking for, they will do the work to, and that's especially the guy that we're looking for, the guys who will put in the work.
I obviously can tell how extremely passionate you are, not just about being, a founder and a CEO, but being a fisherman. Um, it's so rare that you get to talk to somebody who and is running such an amazing business, but it's based off of like a true passion. You can tell like this has been in you for a long time. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about like how you got into fishing and kind of how it's maybe affected you or your development as a human being
Well,
and a leader.
absolutely. Um, well, how I got into it, we moved uh, to the small town in Massachusetts, and we were on a small river, so just outside of Boston, the Assabet River. And my grandfather used to babysit us. We used to go out in the back and fish. I mean, we moved out of there at age 6, so this is like 4 to 6. Those are my earliest memories of going back there with him and fishing. Um, and then with my dad, matter of fact, all through my life, I've gone back to that spot and gone fishing.
Oh, wow,
The
that's great.
government took our house by eminent domain because the river started overflowing,
Oh
which
man.
ironically, in retrospect, we moved to a much better town. Everything worked out great, but my dad always said, "Oh, I got screwed by the government." Um, but I think it worked out okay. But the funny thing is, I go back to that place. I used to all the time to go fishing, even though it was not a great fishing. It holds such great memory to me, such fondness that it's important to me. So I think of fishing as way more than going out fishing. It's an important part of my life. If I have to make a big decision at the company, you can bet I'm going to be somewhere in a river with nobody else around, waiting on the water like that. For some people they do meditation. For me, that's where my mind can get clear. When I come back from a fly fishing trip, especially on a river, forget it. I come back with a million. I'm ready to go. I'm like recharged. I'm like an animal. Like I'm an
Your
uncaged beast,
your
ready to
team's
go.
like, he's fishing. Everyone get
Yep.
ready. He's
Yeah,
coming
everyone
back.
get ready. That's right. That's exactly what it is. And I don't care if I catch 100 fish, one fish, no fish. I'm on that water. Everything becomes clear.
Yeah, I think you mentioned like meditation or it's fishing or I think everybody you really, especially I mean at least when I think about it as a CEO or owner of a business, you have to find ways to get away and block out the noise, get away from your phone. You get a lot of clarity, and it really is. It's super energizing, and it'll change how you are as a person in your personal life and how you treat people and kind of refocus you on work. So it's awesome that you had that, and I think it's. I also say too. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree. I think some people with whether it's fishing or picking up an instrument, people think, well, I'm 45 years old or whatever. Like I can't do that. I mean, there's always a time to pick it back up. And I think, especially with something like Guidesley, I mean, what better option, what better way to, get a guide, get out there, you can learn from them and they're always willing to teach and then maybe go off and do it on your own if you like it.
Absolutely agree. If you want to learn fly fishing, this is the simplest way to do it. If you want to try something like deep sea fish, if you want to go hunt a shark, whatever it is, going with a guide is a great way before you go invest in all this equipment and all of the. It's an easy way to get into something to see if you like it. And because it's a lot of, like any hobby, it's a lot of hours, a lot of work, and as you get older like me, you have to actually practice. When I was young, I never had to practice. What is this? Like my shoulder goes different ways now. It's like, oh my God, I got to put work into my hobby. This is terrible. I thought I just had to read and perfect and learn. Now I have to actually practice just core skills. So having a guide, hey David, your arm's getting a little sideways there. What's going on? I'm like, what? Things you take for granted. Um, so having a guide is just like having a teacher, right? It's a great and as economical a teacher as you're ever going to find in any other industry.
I'm sure you collect feedback from the guides who are on the platform. I'd be curious to hear, um, what kind of feedback you've been getting, and how do you use that to either double down on what's working or make improvements.
Yeah, so we do get a lot of feedback. Guide Success is our core group. And every guide that I talk to, I love your Guide Success. I love how I can talk to you. I love how your team responds and builds product. Um, and I think that's our claim to fame. We're a product company. We build great products. We service those products incredibly well. And we don't think of guide success as customer service. We think of it as best practices. How do we help you be a better guide? How do you use Guidesley to make your life easier? And how do we make sure that we tell you and educate you in a way, meet you where you are? So it's interesting that you asked that question, John, because we were just down in Florida last week filming for these brand commercials. So we're getting ready to build a brand. And we went to our guides to talk to them and let them talk on our behalf. And listening to these guides talk about Guidely, I was honestly emotional. I was literally like, wow. Matter of fact, on the plane back, I sent a company-wide email telling everyone how proud I am of them. Listening to these guides was everything that I hoped. When I first started this company, when I listened to them, that is exactly what I had hoped for. And we got a long way to go, but that was like, uh, I got to tell you this one story. When I first started out, and sorry, I love Josh Allen too, so don't get me wrong.
Uh-oh, everyone brace
But
yourself.
but I started in Boston, so I pulled the Boston thing. Hey, I'm from Boston. You got to go on my platform. We're starting a new company, so guys, our first guys were here, and one of our guys was down the Cape. And after a year, um, actually it was the end of the year, so it was the following year. We go fishing at the end of the season. He's a Cape Cod guy, so it's like October, just about to close up. And he said, David, can I talk to you for a second as we're coming in? And we sit in front. I'm like, uh-oh, there's going to be a big problem coming. And he starts to really like choking up. He goes, David, I took a chance on you because you're from Boston. No other reason. I've heard that message, people screwing me, taking my money, taking advantage of me so many times. My wife and I looked at this and we said, he seems like a good guy. Let's take a chance. And he goes, it probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but I made $10,000 more net this year. And he said, it made a real difference in the quality of life for our family. And I just wanted to thank you. And I was like, wow, you just made 2 years worth of hard work disappear in a minute.
It's amazing. We at our firm, at our monthly all hands, we play a client testimonial, and you can see people in the room. Some people like tear up a little bit.
Yep.
Most, everyone's just proud, and it's that reminder, like, hey, we're working really hard over here to build this business, and days can be tough or they can be long, but you have to remind yourself, look what you're doing for people. I mean, and that's at the end of the day. I think it's awesome when people you've helped are willing to step up and tell their story. I mean, it's invigorating for the team, but it's just a reminder of why you do what you do every day. So that's really great. Everything sounds like it's going great of you, but I know like in starting any company, there's tough times, or there's like little failures that you have to learn from. What do you think has been maybe some of your challenges in growing Guidesley, even though it sounds like it's going well?
Well, where are there not challenges, right? Everything is a challenge. Even when things are going good, half of it's going bad, right?
Yeah.
So, I look at these things as everything's a 50-50. And you just got to double down on the things that really start to bear fruit. Matter of fact, we were just talking about this morning. We have, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 things that are starting to work a little bit, but we have 3 that are really working well. Now, keeping that focus on the things that are really working well is the hardest part. Everybody wants to do a million things at once, but staying maniacally focused on achieving the things that you need to achieve that are really starting to show fruit. Because in our business, you're only as good as how good are you for Series B. The job of a startup is to continue. So unless you're going to sell, and I'm not, then the job is, what do I have to do to get to Series B? Because at Series B, we're probably done fundraising. We don't need any more. So winning the Series B, we won Series A. We're the first one to get Series A. We got the most money raised. We have the best team. We have the best products. Our churn rate from our guides is 0.5%. I mean, we have literally hit all of our benchmarks. But I'd say my first challenge right now is you hire fast, you're always going to get some bad hires. So,
Yeah.
Living with that, how do we build process and scale into the system? So, in fact, we hired one of the 43 North folks. That's kind of one of the systems of 43 North is they help those people get into the companies, and it's
Yeah.
great. You already had a year working with them, so you know them. You've worked really closely, so we brought a few of them in. That's worked out great. So I think dealing with the scale issues of, hey, we've scaled to one level, but now you have to scale to another level. And how do we keep the team growing so that they can get there? Because I think the worst thing you can do with these startups is just bring in a whole new team every time you raise money. You have to have your current team growing, and you have to be building for that. So that scale process is, and everybody defines scale differently, but to me, it's scale of people, scale of process, scale of business. And it works in that order. If you scale your people, you'll be in great place. If you scale your process, you'll be able to expand. And then if you scale your business, the funding, all the stuff around your business, then everything will grow in lockstep.
Do you find that you're, obviously knowing the trajectory that you want to be on, do you find that you're able to create scalable systems, like say at the level you're at now, that will be sustained even though they just have to be tweaked a little bit as you grow, or they're just like you hit certain levels and you have to break apart the system and rebuild it?
I'm a re-engineer, so I never found a system I don't want to break up and rebuild. But to your point, you're always trying to debate, should I deploy this resource against something that will help us grow or fix a process that'll help us scale? And that's back to that focus. Focus, focus, focus. What do I need for Series B? What do I need for beyond Series B? So that's the, I guess, the startup dilemma, the founder dilemma, whatever you want to call it. Where do you deploy your resources and your capital is the
That
hardest
that
question that we all deal with.
That's great advice. I think that lots of times, and I can say this personally, when you start like your first company, you're just like grow, 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 grow. Like, and then you realize, wait a minute. We need to focus inward now and make sure that this is scalable and this can handle the growth. Otherwise, everything falls apart. Um, and I've been fortunate to talk to people like yourself who've been willing to share the way you are today. That's helped me not make some massive mistakes. It's been close, but that's really great advice. You know what? I have a feeling that a lot of people who are going to listen or who are listening don't understand like the Series A, Series B, like kind of what that means. Can you just kind of paint a general picture of, how startup companies grow through these series and kind of what they mean for the company?
Sure. Yeah, it's one of the questions I get a lot, right? Fundraising, how we go through it. Can you help? Can you give me names? Fundraising is, if I were to say the number one job of a CEO after strategy, of a startup CEO, it's fundraising. You have to be able to raise capital, then you have to use your capital efficiently, then you have to run a great company. And it's in that order. So understanding the fundraising process, when you start out, you got your pre-seed round. That's sometimes it's family and friends, sometimes it's good investors. Doesn't really matter. At that point, you're just trying to get something off the ground. Then you've got your seed investment. In today's world, seed extension, seed 1, seed 2, seed 3, who knows? Because getting to seed is easy, getting past seed is really hard today. Or I should say, nothing's easy in this space, right? Then there's Series A, which is the real starting point of your real company. And now there's expectations. Up until then, you're the gleam in everybody's eye, and it really doesn't matter. My personal advice, don't waste a dollar on brand, don't waste a dollar on marketing. When you're pre-seed and seed, all your money should be invested internally. everything should be on whatever your number one is: product, deliverables, if you're a sales company, sales, whatever it is, everything. At Series A, now you start to invest inward on building out a brand that goes out to other people. Because now you know who you are. You've got your first version. You probably will still pivot a couple of times, but at least you know where you are. Series B is, okay, now you're moving into real money. Now you're worth something. You're probably in the, 9-figure territories of valuation. Everything is starting to come together, and you can raise the kind of capital that puts you on your path where you don't need capital after that. And in the fundraising process that precedes the Series B, typically you want to have the ability to build everything you need through that structure. And if you've thought about it well enough for your whole plan, then you'll have figured out, and you won't get to Series B, raise that money, have no equity in your company, and be screwed because you've been forced into anything.
Right.
If you've got a good plan of how each step gets there, like I change my true north metric every round. Here's the metric. And when investors, if I communicate to somebody that this is the metric we're going for, and they say, well, that's not the stated metric, I say, okay, this isn't for you. Let's, let's move on. I get it. You want it, but this company, this is what it's about. And if you don't understand that and buy into it, you shouldn't invest.
What do you think are, like, at least from your standpoint, maybe like the three biggest factors you're focusing on in terms of increasing valuation? Is it LTV, CAC? Like, maybe it's more than three, but I don't know. What are the three biggest things you focus on?
Guides on platform, GMV, and trips. Because in the world of vertical SaaS, revenue doesn't really tell you the picture. Because revenue is something you optimize when you stop growing or when you start to slow down. So I look at it like guides on platform. If we can get a lion's share of the guides on our platform, okay, we have long-term, because our churn is 0.5%.
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Wow,
have
that's
to figure
amazing.
it out. Yeah, as long as your churn is low, you don't have to figure out everything today. You can figure it out in the future. So once we get guides on platform, then it's, whether you want to call it trips or GMV, but GMV tells you a story. How much money is going through your platform that you could monetize later? Once that gets over 100 million in GMV, okay, now you're a real vertical set. That's it. You're one of the few who've made it to the next. And in vertical SaaS, that's why I think that's the most, when I get somebody who says, well, what's your net revenue? I'm like, okay, I don't want to be in this conversation. Net revenue? I haven't, especially, I don't get this question. I'm like on a seed round, like net revenue. I mean, Jesus, that's a compound question. Did you see the 0.5% churn? If you're not impressed, if you don't, then you don't
Yeah.
know SaaS. Then you're not,
Yeah.
that's, I don't need a generalist. I want someone, and our lead of our Series A was a very specific vertical SaaS investor. And that's why we picked them. We had Aspen Capital. They usually do Series B and beyond, but they're very focused on vertical SaaS, vertical AI, which is what we are. We added Yeti Capital because Yeti, the founders of Yeti, are kind of the elite in outdoor rec. So that was great. So our entire investment team is it is a perfect group of investors for Guidesley. And, I'm done chasing names and placards. I really look for great investors. And I should say I don't know if I can say this on the podcast, but my primary driving rule now is no assholes.
No, you can say that. That's great.
No asshole
Agreed.
investors, no asshole company employees, no asshole guides. Any of those three, they're out.
That's a common theme when I talk to owners or founders. It's either no assholes, no jerks, or something else. but they all means the same thing.
I tell every investor I talk to, my first point is I'm having no assholes. And if you're going to invest, I will do the research. So you should self-select right now. Because if someone you've dealt with is going to tell me you're an asshole, you're not going to invest in our company.
I think I'm going to know your answer, but do you agree that, especially now where you're at and what you've learned, that when you're working with investors, it's important that they share the same values that you do?
Absolutely. 100%. It's hard dealing with investors who don't know or like the outdoors. Like if you're not a hobbyist, you probably don't get the problem. And it's hard to imagine because if you don't associate with something, like most SaaS investors work to software companies. So they've got the cadence of it all. Most, consumer brand people worked at a consumer brand. They came up through it. So they get it, they taste it, they feel it, right? So if you don't like fishing, why would you invest in that company? It's one thing to say, oh, I like the outdoors, I go hiking. Well, that's great. Hiking is not a hobby. That's just a thing you do. A real hobby is you got to go buy equipment, you got to go somewhere, and then you got to really perfect it.
Hmm.
That's hard. Hiking is just you drive somewhere, you go on a trail, you do it in your backyard. It's great. Totally healthy. I love it. It does get you out there. It's why all the outdoor rec is so big right now. COVID,
Hmm.
everyone went hiking and they said, get
Yeah.
outdoors. They saw all these people in rivers fishing and they're like, what the heck? These people look like they're having a lot more fun than me just walking along a trail. And that was how it grew. That's really one of the drivers, COVID, and people being more outdoors and seeing all the other people having fun.
What, it's so true. And yeah, hobbies are hard. But if you love it, I mean, that's the whole point
Well,
of it, right? It's something that
yep.
you can, put your time and energy into, outside of, your daily work life. And it's awesome that you've been able to take not just a hobby, but really like a love and a passion, and now be able to create this business that's doing such great things for people who share that with you. Um, you know, I was thinking about this. You obviously are moving so fast with Guidesley. There's so much going on. What's maybe something that you're most excited about? About Guidesley, going into the future.
Definitely Jack AI. This the AI tools, and we're about to bring Jack AI to the consumer business, and I just think that's going to be legendary. It's going to change everything, and I love the AI. I love what it's bringing to the industry. I've also found my own personal footing from starting a side business to getting back in I mean, no offense, but back in the rat race of,
Yeah.
okay, now I got to build another big company. Got to, you know, 86 families now count on me again. I was thinking of a nice little small thing. If I take that responsibility very seriously. So, I don't think of the one person. I think of the 86 collective and the 1,500 guide families and all of this that rests on Guidesley's shoulders. Um, and I've really come to settle in on this is this is my off into the sunset company. There is going to be nothing. Now I knew that from the beginning. I mean, it was retirement or do one more, but I really feel like this is legacy for me now. It's it's legacy for me. It's legacy for the guides. It's legacy. Like this is. I want Guidesley to be a legacy. Like in 10 years from now, all of the best guides in the world will be using Guidesley, and you'll know you have the best guide because they're a Guidesley guide, and that's what I want. And I want to leave that legacy behind. The guide say, "Wow, I can't live without that company."
I love that. Love your passion. I got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
And I always love asking CEOs or founders this. What do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Well, I tell you, I've been given a lot of great advice. I've had three mentors. They've all been great, but there's one who really taught me some important lessons in life. And it was when I was young and had great attitude, I guess. Um, and he used to sit with me. We used to have lunch every single day. And he'd ask me, what do you think happened in that meeting? And I'd say, oh man, I killed it. I was on fire. I got my points across. He goes, you idiot. You didn't do any of those things. You got drawn right into what they wanted you to say. You got excited, so everybody discounted everything you said. And what he taught me is how to be the business of being a person. Like, how do you present yourself professionally? How do you sit back and think and listen and process before you speak? What are the tools you need to really present and represent whatever it is you want to represent? And that took, so it's not a piece of advice, because that was probably 2 years worth of learning every single day. And by the end, it was almost like the Star Wars kind of thing. It's like, okay, You've learned all you can learn from me. And matter of fact, he was the first one who told me, he said, I don't know what you're going to be in life. I think you have to be a CEO. I can't imagine any other role for you. And this is when I was just a controller. I was just a financial re-engineer and controller. I was like, I just wanted to be a CFO. That was my dream.
Yeah.
He was like, I just can't imagine that life for you. But so that was the best. That learning how to understand what's going on around you in the chaos, to study everybody's understanding. I mean, I really perfected body language, words, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I got so good at it. I barely use it anymore because I feel like it's cheating, but it's probably the most important skill I ever learned.
Yeah, mentors are huge, and I will say too, body language is fascinating to study, and especially once you realize, when you learn it and how accurate it is. Yeah, you're right. It's like a cheat code. You have to be careful.
Yeah, it is a cheat code. I mean, I could run a meeting. I used to call it puppet mastery. I could puppet master any meeting, and there came a point it was just silly.
All right, so last big question for you. If you could go out on a fishing trip with one person, dead or alive, who would you pick and where would you go?
Easy. Ted Williams. Right to the Madison River in Montana. That's his favorite spot for fly fishing. They say he's the best fly fisherman ever. And he's the best fighter pilot, best baseball player, and the best fly fisherman.
Fighter pilot, baseball player, fly. Man, that's insane. When you really think about it,
all these professional guys used to go out with him and say he's the best fly fisherman I've ever seen.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, look, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. I know you're super busy. I know people are going to learn a lot from this. If people want to, follow along Guidesley and follow you along, where can they find you?
Our website at Guidesley.com. You can go check out our LinkedIn. You can check me on LinkedIn, David Lord. Or if you want any questions, or you can send me an email, david.lord@Guidesley.com. I'm here. I'm always available, especially for Buffalo. I love 43 North. I love Buffalo. It's been really good to us.
Thanks, David. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Thanks for listening to Angles. If this episode made you think, smile, or see something in a new way, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review and share it with friends. You can also follow us on social media. Angles is produced by Brett Tuttle. I'm John Richmond. See you next time.